Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel. I want to talk about a true story today guys, a true story that happened here in Scotland in the early 90s. I'm going to guess it was around 1992 that this happened, the killer clowns in transit vans. Now if you guys are from the UK or specifically Scotland, then you will definitely remember this if you're old enough, around about my age. But I don't remember if this happened in England or Wales or Northern Ireland, but it certainly happened in Scotland and it just disappeared faster than it came. But before we talk about the killer clowns and transit vans today, let me fast forward to 2017 when it happened yet again. Now, the film Stephen King's It from 2017, the semi-remake to the 1990 miniseries and the movie that's based on the best-selling novel by Stephen King. When that came out in 2017, there was a craze online where people were dressing up as clowns and being recorded or recording themselves, chasing people, getting chased by people. And it was like a phenomenon that came and went so fast. But that wasn't the first time that ever happened. It happened, I don't know if it happened everywhere else, but it happened for definite here in Scotland around about 1992. And the funny thing is, it happened just after we got the release of the miniseries that came in 1990. Now, the miniseries came at the end of 1990 in the US, but people in Scotland didn't start to see this miniseries until maybe 1991 and then following through to 1992. So because the miniseries was so big everywhere it came out, then people started getting interested in killer clowns or scary clowns. As you know, there is a fear of clowns called coulrophobia, and it's people who are just scared of clowns, whether they're scary or not. And I think the fear genuinely started happening after Stephen King's It was released in 1990. Now, back in 1992, I believe it maybe started out as a rumour that there was people dressing up as clowns going about in transit vans. I don't know if you guys get transit vans wherever you are, but we had transit vans all over Scotland, and people say that there was people dressing up as clowns going into transit vans and chasing people around the streets and stealing children and taking them into the vans, and then we don't know what happened to them. Obviously, a lot of that was blown out of proportion. Maybe that didn't happen. Maybe there was just a few sightings of it. But one thing's for sure is it got so bad that I remember our head teacher when I was at my primary school, she called an assembly for the whole entire school. And I remember this. I remember getting called into the assembly hall. The whole school was sitting there, and there was half of the school that believed that this was happening, and the other half of the school thought it must just be a myth. People are just making this up. But because the teacher called an assembly, whether we thought it was real or not, and whether the teachers thought it was real or not, they thought it was real enough to call an emergency assembly. So they sat us all down and they said to us, there's rumours going about that there's people going around dressing up as clowns in transit vans, and if you didn't believe it at the time, you did now because you've got adults telling you about it. And she was saying things about safety. I think there might have been police officers called in, don't quote me on that, but I think people got called in to tell us about the safeties of holding parents' hands. Don't go home yourself if you're old enough to go home yourself. Walk with people, walk in crowds of 2s and 3s and 4s. And they were giving us these safety tips. And it took me right back to the miniseries when the police officer found the kids playing in the dam and they was telling them about, is it Velma Daniels, the little girl who went missing? And he was saying, go home in groups, stay together, this is what you should be doing. And it took me back to that because we were still hyped up from watching the miniseries. And that's why we thought there's no way these killer clowns were going around in transit vans. No way. Maybe clowns, but not killer clowns, because obviously there was no news on TV about these clowns. And when you search online, it's almost like this phenomenon didn't exist at all. I searched for it high and low and only see some kind of rumours about people talking about it in forums, but never newspaper articles about what actually happened. So it felt like to me it was just like an urban legend. I do believe though, if this event happened in 1992, if it happened now, there'd be a lot about it on social media. We would see people recording the videos of these transit vans coming and going, pretending to scare people and take people away. That's how big it was back then. And I feel like it was just as big as what we got in 2017, 18, with all these people starting to come out again, dressed up as clowns. And it all stemmed from Pennywise. It's just amazing how massive a character that scared kids back in the day become can become so influential in the real world that people get genuinely scared of not just clowns, but the fact that or the thought of these clowns coming and taking you or your kids. Now, obviously, I was a kid at the time, so I was the one who was excited about it and hoping to see these transit vans. And whenever me and my friends saw these transit vans passing, we're like, look, there's a clown in the van. Even though it was probably just a van and a guy going to work in his transit van, we would always assume that there was somebody dressed up as a clown in that van or in the back of the van, or we would pretend that we could hear kids banging on the transit van trying to get out, and we would chase the vans and hope that we could catch it and solve some sort of murder of a killer clown and we can get them arrested and stuff. That's how deep it got, because we wanted to be the losers club in the miniseries at the time. And I think a lot of kids today who are watching the 2017 movie wanted to be part of that losers club. So I just wanted to share with you my story of the killer clowns and transit vans, and hopefully anyone who's searching for killer clowns and transit vans, that you, if you remember it from back in the early 90s, and hopefully you find this video. What's your experience of the killer clowns and transit vans? Are you from Scotland? Did it happen outside Scotland? Hopefully you guys have maybe heard about it in England. I don't know if you guys would have heard about it in the US or Canada or any other country that you're from, but it certainly happened in our country, and it was so serious that the authorities got involved, the schools got involved, our head teachers got involved, telling us to be vigilant and keeping an eye out and staying with people. I think looking back on that now and thinking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was a very serious moment in our lives, being told to look out for these vans because there could be people in the vans dressed as clowns coming to get us. So guys, if you've had any experiences on it back in the 90s or even the latest ones from 2017, leave your experiences down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned. To get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!